Yo, so the opinions and views expressed in this podcast are that of our own and the future Bachelor podcast only, and not affiliated with any outside party or entity or anything like that. This fun podcast, though, may include some adult language.
Future Bachelor podcast.
Why don't we get into what we like to do around here, you know? It's that time to talk about Bachelorette on our show! Yes, but before we get talking Bachelorette, YouTube, go ahead and subscribe, smash that thumbs up button, and hit that notification bell so you can get notified every time we drop new Bachelor content just like this. And if you just did, oh man, huge shout out to you. Woo-wee! Air horns for you. Yo, you don't even know. You know, you guys have been showing love. Shout out to all the new subscribers out there. Shout out to people giving us thumbs up. That was a popular video last week because, you know, we've been doing this thing here where if you just leave a comment below, we're going to shout you out on the next episode, you know? So, I just got to give a quick shout out to some of the people that commented the last video. Shout out to Mary Fisher. Shout out to Maureen Blake. Linda, our compadre friend, Kelly Johns, you know, she's always showing love. Marty, love aka her. My mom, and also Kathleen Kent again, you know, coming through with the comments. You know, you gotta love a return commenter.
Our return customer.
So yeah, and if you want to get a shout out at the beginning of one of our videos, we do these every week. So if you want to, just leave your thoughts. You don't even got just write something. Just say hi, whatever. If you want to hear your name on the next video, just, you know, subscribe, thumbs up, comment. Love. Yeah. But V, why don't we get into week 10 or finale part 1? You know, I don't know. I wasn't really feeling this episode.
I don't know why they're stretching this out into 2 episodes, but the whole interspersing of the live show element, which I love. Comedian Jared Freed calls it the dome of undateables, which is like what he calls that live audience. And I love that because I think it's so true, because like we open on, you know, it's the live audience. Jesse's looking good.
Like a snack.
And everybody else is thinking that too, because most of the signs in the audience are all like hitting on Jesse. They're like, Jesse. I'm like, bro,
you know they're making those signs. They hire someone every time to make those signs, like some high school student. Yeah, definitely. There's no ways, like, there's people making those signs and coming in. Like, they're, like, passing those out to people and being like, you could get on camera.
That would be a fun job. That would be a fun job to be the sign maker.
Hell yeah.
But definitely, they're vibing. But we have to start with the rose ceremony from, technically, last week, where Zach asks Rachel if, can we speak? That's what he says, which I feel like is such a weird way to, Rachel, can we speak? Like... He's
just so proper and polite.
I don't know. He's hot though. I'm okay with it.
Yo, I was getting real Bachelor vibes from him this episode.
I was getting a real Bachelor edit from him too. So he pulls Rach aside. They talk. She's pretty stone-faced the entire time.
This is not a good... I mean, there's been a lot of episodes where it's not a good look for Rachel.
This whole episode's not a good look for Rachel at all.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
She's pretty stone-faced the entire time as Zach is like unpouring like, hey, you felt really fake. You felt really different. Things felt really off in the fantasy suites. Like, and she pretty much is all like, I don't know what you're talking about. How dare you like say that about me? And he's all like, yeah, I don't know if I can do this. Like, something's off. Like, I don't know, like, if I can continue going on and being with this Rachel, if this is who you're going to be now. And
yeah, I mean, he just like felt like he got like the Bachelorette Rachel, not like the real Rachel, someone that he's been like falling in love with and stuff. And we all can see it as like, I think, viewers as well.
Right.
You know, it seems like going into all these, like this week specifically, it's like she's trying to win these breakups, like, and like come out looking like the better person or something, like, you know.
Yeah, I think
even though she has to like lead these people on and break up with them, like that's kind of the whole point of the show.
She definitely, you know, tried to really push the narrative with him that he was too young, and he's all like, I'm not buying that shit. Like, there's just no way. That was you a year ago, and like whatever. And you could tell like she just wants to make sure she tries to not come out as the bad guy, but I mean, she's not doing a great job. And he's all like, I can't do this. And so he leaves. She doesn't even seem that upset about it.
Of course not. I mean, she's more upset for the fact that she couldn't tell she got broken up with than he.
That she didn't get to like be the one to turn him down.
Yeah. To me, it's being what she's doing with being the Bachelorette is kind of like what in my acting classes they say not to do. It's like the more you try to act, the more like it looks like not real, you know?
Right. She definitely, I feel like a switch turned on in her like in the past couple of weeks where she got so in her head about being like a good Bachelorette that she's just like not even thinking like a human who wants to be in a relationship right now.
Right.
But they do the little intersperse of the live bit where they bring Zach out to talk with Rachel.
And it's already like uncomfortable, like with the girls for whatever reason. Like, you know, there's elephants in the room. Like Rachel already knows she's going to look bad. Gabby's dealing with like, you know, wanting to be all happy about Dancing with the Stars, having to mediate her, like, you know, her excitement of everything because of first Rachel's probably feeling all crazy and also like the news of Erich this past week and stuff. So, you know, a lot's going on in that room and Jesse's is not making it any easier for them.
Classic, which is like he's asking in true like host fashion, like this is how they're asking these prodding questions, which also
with like a straight face, like, you know, like
right.
It's awesome.
And he's also asking questions kind of like framing things as if it were Zach's fault, being like, so what really did happen in, you know, that fantasy suite? And Zach pretty much says again, like, you know, I just wasn't the same Rachel when we were spending our time together, like things didn't feel right, blah, blah. They pretty much just apologized to each other back and forth for a little bit.
That's what made me think like they're going to pick him to be the next Bachelor. I'm like, you know, like you have to go out like not really. I mean, I'm not saying that Rachel and Gabby did that, but like they're a different situation. There were two women like, you know, picked to be the leads, but with Zach, it's like, you can't go out like really talking shit about being the lead. Like, you know, there's a lot to learn in the last two seasons, you know, back to back, you know, from Clayton to them to Zach, you know, if he were to be picked as the Bachelor, I think, you know, people just get upset with like white leads for the show, but like to be honest, like I think he's the perfect Bachelor, like the perfect person to be the Bachelor.
I think he's great. He's a great dude. I like his vibe. He honestly didn't even really need to apologize to Rachel again. Like I'm happy Rachel apologized to him at the live part, being all like, you know, and like pretty much affirmed his feelings of like you were gonna feel whatever way, and I can't.
I mean, it's just a class act. It's a way of killing somebody with kindness. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like, she's kind of just made her own mess that she can like, you know, it's like now in the court of public opinion. So, it is what it is. It's laid out there. So, you know, I think he, like I said earlier and before, and I'll continue to say, I think like out of all the guys, like, you know, we couldn't really see who would be picked to be the Bachelor, but like it's kind of crazy that like he kind of stands out now, like out of everybody, even like over in Aven, you know, who, you know, we'll talk about here.
Speaking of Aven, he's up first to meet Rachel's family. So they're both Rachel and Gabby's families are in Mexico. For Rachel, we've got her dad, Big Tony, her mom, and then her gay bestie, Nayte, and then her female bestie whose name escapes me. It's something basic like Abby or Grace or something. Whatever. So before Aven walks in the room, you could like, she is beaming. She's so like the way that she's talking up Aven, I'm like, I haven't seen this all season long, pretty much. Like, I've just seen them being hot together and whatever. But, like, she's, like, talking up how she thinks of him whenever she wants to tell somebody about something. Like, she just feels, like, all this comfort. Like, all this stuff that's, like, checking boxes for her parents. They're all, like, sounds great. This dude sounds like a class act. Like, what a guy.
Yeah, and also, like, it feels like she's a little performative here with it all. Like, you know. I mean, yes, he's hot. But, like, it's hot. Like... You know, he doesn't have like his personality doesn't jump out enough. Maybe it's because he just actively isn't toxic. Like Tino kind of has a little toxic streak in him, and I think we're gonna see next week. Yeah. But
So maybe it's just like he doesn't seem exciting because he's just like a healthy dude. But whatever. So, he's doing great with the family. He's doing great with the friends. Big Tony, Big Tony's showing his dominance in both situations. And he smiles, he laughs, he has a good time. He got a cigar from him. He's doing okay. Overall, everybody's loving him. The mom's like totally into it. And the friends, though, like when they talk to him separately, they, kind of got out of him that he's like, yeah, I'm totally down for an engagement. And like, I'm ready for forever with her. But, will an engagement have to happen in the next couple of days? Does that mean that I'm ready for that? I don't know.
Yeah, I think this is just panic mode where like people start realizing the end is near and like real like life consequences. Like and it's also like times 10, like it's amplified, so like they're just like seeing like, oh my God, like what if this doesn't work out and I'm saying all this stuff, I'm going to look like a bad guy. Like everyone's so in their head about what they're going to look like. Well,
and also like Aven's family, his parents are divorced and they got divorced I think when he was pretty young. So he is like, I'm not trying to, like, I want to get engaged once. I want to get married once. Like, I think that's just his vibe. And he wants to make sure that everything's lined up the right way for that to happen. And in this situation, like, that's really hard to know. It's so quick.
Right.
And so, her friends bring that information to her and she's flabbergasted. Like she's acting like this is like the worst news she's ever heard in her entire life. And when they walk out together, they sort of get into like a little fight about it. And he's like trying to explain where he's at. And I thought he was doing an okay job. Like he was doing the best he could do. And he was
being a real human being.
I know.
Person.
All she's seeing is no ring. And so they like kind of end that conversation for that.
No,
and
she actually says like, why are you yelling at me? It's like, he didn't raise his voice at all. Like, he was just trying to talk past her, like being irrational. Like,
right. And that gets so complicated because then it's like, I was seeing different memes and stuff from like some of the other folks in this space, in the Bachelor Nation space that are like people of color, how it's kind of like, it gets a little dicey if you're like, telling this black man that he's yelling at you and like whatever, and like kind of making him look like a fool on television and then making him apologize to you for whatever later, like in general, like it just looks a little sus, to be honest.
I mean, it's part of the game, but yeah, she's just like, she's acting up right now, that's for sure.
So they put that on hold for now because they'll meet up and talk more later. But next up is Erich meeting Gabby's family. So for Gabby's family, we've got her dad, her aunt. I don't know if it's both aunts or like maybe her dad's like wife or whoever. And then obviously Grandpa John, who this is Erich's second time meeting Grandpa John. So
Grandpa John was excited to see him.
Yeah, Grandpa John, he's a shit, but I like him. Like he's vibing. He's a good time. I mean, everybody's excited to see Gabby. I feel like Erich did pretty well, like pretty run-of-the-mill answers. Things. Everybody is, pretty on point with how they're talking. He talked about how important it was that his family got to meet her and like how that all went. And you could tell he got like a little emotional because of stuff with his dad and everything. And I feel like her family kind of were all like, hey, like, giving him the keys to success of like how she's been through so much and like doesn't feel like she ever has deserved love really. And that, they could tell that he's kind of like opening up that side of her again, which is great. And then she kind of has a breakdown she has like a nice little emotional convo with Grandpa John, and he saw like, I wish your grandma was here, and they like, cry and like whatever. But then she has like a breakdown with her aunt, and like her aunt's advice was probably applicable to everybody. It was great advice, just pretty much telling her how, there's going to be someone, it might be Erich, who's out there to, who's going to meet her where she's at, and that's going to want to like, work through her trauma and stuff with her, and that isn't going to like leave her in the dust. And I thought that was a great conversation to see, but we could tell that Gabby's just really wrapped up into this whole what is going to define her feeling loved, in her head.
Yeah.
But
pretty run of the mill. I mean, what ends up happening? Do we get to the part where there's like drama start?
Not yet.
All right. So
No.
where we go next?
So now, Rachel's feeling some kind of way after the little ending bit of time with Aven, but now it's time to bring in Tino with her family. And instead of like prefacing like with gushes and whatever, like she did with Aven, she kind of is prefacing like, yeah, his family fucking hated me, dog. Like, like, yikes.
Yeah.
They're all like, okay, like we'll see, and like whatever. And you could tell like Tino is nervous. Like he's like all hunched over when he sits down. He's barely saying anything. He's like not doing super well, but when they get into more, he's flopping at the beginning. He's definitely flopping hard. But then he gets into more conversations. I don't know how he got a "I like you" out of Big Tony, because he literally, like, to Big Tony was being all like, I mean, they'll have to love her because I love her. Like, I don't know. That seems like really cocky to me. Like that if I was a father and my child's significant other was like saying that kind of stuff to me, I'd be like, bet. Like, get out of here, fool. Like, I don't know. Like, that's just not, it's just not the vibe to me.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. Maybe it could be because he's seen himself on TV before, or, some people might just be like, well, forget your parents then, I like you. They're going to have to get to like her because she's great. But yeah, I mean, pretty run of the mill Meet the Parents.
Every Meet the Parents was pretty run of the mill, honestly. Like the friends seemed pretty like into it or fine with it. They were just sipping and asking little questions here and there. They're the ones that asked like the real questions, really. They did a great job. But
Well, did they get any like good questions in with Tino?
I feel like not really. They just kind of were all like, yeah, like, so you're ready for engagement? And like, that's even what her mom asked him because of everything.
I wonder if she got with them and was like, hey, y'all, how about you chill with the questioning a little bit? I could see her totally say that to her.
Like being like, yo, maybe like ignorance is bliss.
Yeah,
but her mom made sure to ask like, hey, you like ready for this? And like Tino was, but you could tell Tino was just holding back from being all like, yeah, I'm ready to win. Like that was the whole vibe he was giving off for the entire time, is all like, yeah, I feel confident in winning. Like you could tell like that is his mindset. It's definitely like, yeah, I'm gonna win this situation, which is probably, I could already see it coming back to bite them both in the booty. So we'll have to see.
So do we go back to Erich?
We go back to Rachel talking to Aven now.
Oh, man. Okay.
So Rachel goes and talks to Aven at his room, and you could tell he wants to, like, salvage what's going on. He even is all like, let's have some champagne. And she's like, no, let's have this conversation. And she just pretty much freaks out. He explains the same way that he was explaining it before, and she's just not having it. She just wants a proposal. He's all like, I'm ready for a lifetime with you, but does that mean that I'm ready to get down on one knee tomorrow? Not really. Like, I want to make sure everything is right for this to work out between us. Like, I don't want, like, I would want us to, see what life is like outside of this perfect experience and experience that with you, to make sure that like me wanting to spend the rest of my life with you and you wanting to spend the rest of my life, like whatever, is the right thing and works for both of us. And she's all like, you don't want to propose? Like, she's losing it.
Well, leads just take the Kool-Aid, man. Like, and they just don't. And she like so quickly forgot like what it was like to be in
be on the other side.
Yeah. And you could just tell that she's going all in on Tino. Like, she's like, at least Tino is giving me 100%. This is who she wanted from day one. From day one. Yeah. Like, that's why when she was talking about Aven, the way she was talking about him, like, I knew from the beginning. I'm all like, since when? This is all performance. When? You know what I'm saying? It's for TV. She's like trying to put on a show. and it's just coming off fake. So she essentially breaks up with him,
and just leaves his ass there.
Yeah, poor guy. Like, he's like, I don't even know, like, I mean, if it's just like a matter of, I mean, good for him, dude. He dodged a bullet.
He dodged, and then they do the same bullshit with bringing him on the live, and I don't think he should have even apologized anymore. And he was like saying how he failed, whatever. I'm like, bro, you didn't fail anything. She just is somebody who's looking for that ring, doesn't even care who it's attached to at this point. / she was just eyes only, straight ahead, focused on Tino. So she was going to leave.
He's like into running to be the Bachelor too or something. So
he got a decent edit for that too. I kind of thought about that.
Just
but
like, I don't know. It just made more sense to me for Zach. Like, it just came
Me too.
more authentic. It was just like Aven was like too perfect, like, like with all his answers and just like literally on some like I said, like, I don't know, like, I just feel like he just was like too plain.
He doesn't. That's the thing. I mean, as I said, I feel like he maybe is a little too healthy for this show. Just kind of is.
That's a good point.
Like,
that's a compliment. So. We get to the end of the show.
Then we see the bit of Gabby and Erich afterwards, like the nighttime portion where they're hanging out after their date and like they're all into each other because, he's the only one left and all this stuff. And he pretty much says like, it's kind of crazy, but we're gonna leave this, like, he's like, I want to leave with you, but like, the whole like, can't we date first? He's like, I want to continue dating you, like, I want to be with you. And Gabby's all like, haha, no. And like, so she like freaks out, like jumps back in from like them being out on their little patio porch area and like is like literally like booking it out of there, like, as the producers and everybody's following her as she's down the hall, like, crying, being all like, he wants to continue to date, that's not a proposal, as like Erich's trying to be all like, Gabby, and like she's literally just crying to a producer. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, which honestly I kind of get. Homie did kind of give her like a slight ultimatum earlier, being all like, yo, I'm here for you. I don't want to leave without you. We're endgame. And she's all like, let me go on my other dates. And then whatever. And then he's all like, ugh. But like, is endgame like right now? Which once again, all realistic. It's insanity to think that you can't like go and live in the outside world for a bit and try to like go steady, as I've said before.
That's like, she's just lucky because they both got mad ego. Like, it's just like, get over yourselves. Like, you're the leads of the show, but these are like actual people. Like, Rachel was always like me. She never talked about like anybody as in like an us thing. Like, she's like, but I want this. Like Veruca Salt and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Big Veruca Salt vibes.
Yeah, I want it now. But like, I think like it's just kind of crazy because, I don't know, like she kind of switched the power dynamic by kind of like, you don't really see like the last couple by themselves, like just hanging out for like the last 2-3 episodes. Like,
right.
It is a weird thing happening right now. So
right.
He kind of does have a little say in it. And this wasn't the best episode for the ladies.
No.
And
you could tell, like, when they go back to the live portion, it ended out, and, like, they showed a little preview of next week where it looks like Tino's going to, like, either lie or go back on some word or whatever. Like, I don't know.
Well, I mean, it just sounds like Rachel will make it sound like he went back on something, like,
I'm interested to see. I'm
pretty sure it's the same thing all around. Like, all the guys are getting the vibes, like, I like you. I don't want to just get married right now or get engaged. Can we, like, see what's like real life is like, and they're all just like, well, he did it. Now, like, I'm like the last one left. Like, I'm going to do that,
Right.
And they just don't like that. But I don't know. I mean, also, I didn't like how Jesse was promoting this as like the most dramatic, like, Bachelorette ever. It's not. It's really not. Like,
it's really not.
I've seen they're also just making it dramatic. Like, I don't know. It is weird how they're stretching it out, but I am looking forward to hopefully next week. Hopefully we get something out because I was looking forward to this week. I was looking forward to some like drama, but no, it didn't.
I know.
Really
I feel like
happen.
most of it's saved for next week. It looked like.
Yeah. So that's kind of this episode. Any last thoughts on this week going into next week?
It just looks like, it looks like I don't know if either of them are gonna end up with a ring on their finger. If
Yeah, they
anything,
didn't look too happy. They didn't look too happy.
Rachel especially doesn't look happy, and Gabby looks like she's just either doing better at training herself to look happy, or maybe she is with Erich now. But to what terms, I don't know.
Yikes. Anything else coming out of Bachelor Nation?
Yes. So Nayte went on. Nayte, Michelle Young's ex, went on Viall Files with Nick Viall and talked about their breakup and how he broke up with Michelle over the phone after their trip to LA for her birthday. I guess they had multiple breakup conversations, and it just that's how it came out.
He told a story of like something kind of sketchy that she did though. Like they were in bed and she saw like a very famous country singer like DM'd her, and then he asked about it and the whole conversation
was gone, and she said it was because he made her uncomfortable because he was asking her to go get drinks, and it got all dicey. It got dicey, but he broke up with her over phone, which is not the move, but he even said that it was a dick move, and I think they had a lot of fights. I mean, I don't know if they were really going to work that well together in general. So
I could have called it. Anything else?
So the big news was how Erich was in the news for this photo that surfaced from his yearbook where he was in blackface dressed up as Jimi Hendrix. Which, first of all, we were discussing offline about how is a yearbook, that's not that long. It's not like this was like 1960. This was like recent 2000s, and they're posting pictures of that. Like, what?
Yeah, I mean, dude, it's just crazy. Like, because it's hard to say, but it's just like this stuff was still up, like acceptable. Like, there's been a lot of change in the last like couple years, like a bigger focus on these like type of scenarios and stuff, but like for a long time, like this stuff was kind of accepted and not even looked at like that,
Right.
To have someone take the picture, to have someone post the picture and edit that picture into a yearbook, to have all these years go by and nothing been said by a school, and it's just like maybe the school didn't even look at it like that or whatever, they didn't see it. It's just kind of crazy.
But yeah, it's got people looking deeper into Erich, and I've seen some other photos of him with like MAGA hats and stuff like that. Is it going to turn into a Becca and Blake situation? That was his name.
How much do you think like
what was his name? I don't remember.
Jed or not Jed?
What was it? Grant? No,
I don't know.
It doesn't matter. Whoever
matter.
She didn't end up with.
He's a good thing they're forgettable. Garrett, yeah. I mean, how much do you think the franchise is responsible for doing these type of like background checks on these people? Like that's pretty deep. Like to have to go through every contestant, like every yearbook of theirs, like like it's always gonna be something.
I mean, potentially, yeah. I mean, I don't know. It gets. I mean, employers can find that kind of stuff though too. So
yeah,
it kind of depends. But he, did an apology. Blah blah blah. Whatever. We'll see. I'm sure he'll have something to say about it.
There's a lot of emotions going for Erich, like right now with his dad passing, and then this coming out. Like
Yeah, I'm sure he'll say some stuff after the final rose next week. So we'll have to see. But our girl Gabby obviously is on the cast for Dancing with the Stars. She's partnered with the pro Val, who is probably one of my favorite pros on the show. So good for her. But, other famous people on that are Selma Blair, Wayne Brady, Charlie D'Amelio, Teresa Giudice from Real Housewives of New Jersey, Vinny from Jersey Shore, et cetera, et cetera.
There's some competition in there.
It's gonna be probably a good show, but now it's all on Disney Plus. It's a Disney Plus exclusive now.
Yeah, because it probably wasn't. People weren't tuning in to watch it on there, and
Right.
if they were gonna watch that show, it's probably the next day on Hulu, anyways, or whatever.
Right. So, but other big news out of Bachelor Nation was James McCoy Taylor, who was on JoJo's season, was arrested. Huh?
You almost said James McCoy Toilet.
Toiler. James McCoy Toiler. James McCoy Taylor. Arrested for driving while under the influence, while intoxicated, and carrying a weapon. He was released on a combined $7,000 bond. He also he's 35. He had an 18-year-old freshman from, I think, where are they? Texas. So I think University of Texas. In the car with him that he was taking back to her dorm, and the police officer was all like, with her condition, she obviously was not in a state to be able to assess the benefits or risks of being in that car. Also, it's been heard that he has, creeped on college girls before. Like, he kind of that's kind of his vibe. He goes to different college towns, or because he performs, he's a singer, and he'll creep on, 18 to 21-year-old girls, which
there's no shame in his game. Yeah. I mean, what you gonna do? This guy's, there's so many people in this franchise now. There's bound to be some bad apples,
Yeah, he's kind of grody for sure.
I mean, he tried to explain himself, and it just ended up making him look like an even bigger ass.
No, he's definitely an asshole. So,
well, that's pretty much all we got for Bachelor Nation stuff. We'll be back next week with the season finale of The Bachelorette, and hopefully it's a good one.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, make sure you're subscribing, smashing that thumbs up button, definitely leaving a comment so we can get a shout out. What do you think? Who do you think? Who do you think gets a ring? Leave it. Do you think?
Gasp.
Do you think Gabby gets?
What do you think?
What do you think? Gabby gets a ring? Leave that in the comments. Do you think Rachel's gonna get a ring? Probably not. But
or do you think Gabby's just gonna go steady with Erich?
Yeah. How far do you think Gabby's gonna make it in Dancing with the Stars? Let us know.
Do you think Bachelor's gonna come from this cast or maybe somebody else?
I think it's gonna be this cast. Do you think Zach's gonna be the Bachelor? Let us know. Who do you think is gonna be the Bachelor? All right. Well, that's about it.
You just asked a lot of questions.
Yeah, sorry. Just answer one of them, or make up your own and answer that one.
Just don't spoil shit for us, though. Okay,
right.
bye.
Yeah, bye. All right.
Future Bachelor Podcast.